This is the Board of Education for Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. We're opening up at 1910 hours. Be advised, these meetings are televised on Channel 28 Wednesday in the evening, and they're on Saturday morning on public TV, TV 30 and TV 28. We're going to start tonight. We're honored to have Misty Guzman. She's the principal over at East Avenue. So you're going to come up and introduce who's going to do the pledge for us tonight.
Okay. My name is Misty Guzman, and I am the proud principal of East Avenue Middle School. And tonight it gives me great pleasure to introduce two of our kiddos here. We have William Ladone and Tara Kubiak, who are our ASB president and vice president, with us this evening to lead us in the pledge.
Ready? Oh, ready? Oh,
You're good. No, just share with her.
You're good. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for coming. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Dolphins.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Go Dolphins.
All right, Chuck, you got the read. I mentioned that we were in closed session. We get here a little bit earlier, and then we have a closed session meeting prior. And any actions that we take in closed session we'll report out. And so with that being said, ask our clerk, Mr. Rogie, if you'd report out any actions taken in closed session.
Yes, we had one readout. In closed session, the Board of Education voted 4-0 to accept staff recommendation to release one probationary classified employee. That was absent, Mr. Wenzel.
Thank you, sir. The agendas are on the, they'll be on the overheads, and some of you may have grabbed one on the way in. And I'll try to keep you updated as we kind of go through. Again, this is the regular meeting of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our primary focus here is on the education of students within the district. So during the meeting, you'll have the opportunity to share your views and voice your concerns or ideas on matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. So during our discussion of any of the agenda items, there'll be a time for you to discuss and bring forth your ideas. If it's not on the agenda, we'd ask that you fill out a tan speaker card. The tan and the blue speaker cards are located in the lobby. And then bring those up and hand them to one of the folks that's over here, our IT folks. And what we'll do is I'll call your name in no particular order during that time and ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. A small, it's new, it's on the laptop, there'll be a little 3-minute timer. If you get to around the 2:30 mark and you're not wrapping up yet, I may tell you that you've got about 30 seconds just as a general reminder. We try to keep it moving along, and then as just a courtesy to everyone else that might want to have comments, and then also to keep the meeting very orderly. Again, the meetings are televised. They're on TV 28. They're on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. And so when you come up to the microphone, there's a little green light right on the base. And if you touch the button, make sure the green light's on. We can all hear you in the room, but we want to capture the audio because then it projects better when they put it on Tri-Valley TV. We're in section 4, and this is our changes to the agenda. And so I'd ask our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if there's any changes, and if so, if you could let us know what those are.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually have one minor change to the agenda. Information item 9.1, public hearing. The corresponding resolution was referenced under status with only the template placeholder for the resolution number, XX. So it should read resolution number 019 for 1920. And a corrected version of the item is at your desktop. So it's just on the title.
019. Okay. Thank you very much. Moving into section 5, these are our recognitions. And this is kind of the opportunity that the district has to be able to recognize some of the accomplishments of both people, students, teachers, aides within the community and within the district. So if you would, I think we have a couple. If you'd introduce our first one, Dr. Bowers.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. So it's my pleasure to ask Ms. Misty Guzman to come up again. She's the very proud principal of East Avenue, which is a California Distinguished School. And she'll be recognizing some hardworking and dedicated employees from the school site.
Good evening. Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and cabinet. My name, again, is Misty Guzman, and I am the proud principal of East Avenue Middle School. Tonight, it is my absolute pleasure and honor to recognize behavior specialist Griselda Leon and registered behavior technician Pallavi Kulkarni for their work while they were members of the East Avenue staff. I realize that honoring two people who are no longer on my staff is unusual, but I would be remiss if I did not. They were the glue that held our class for students with autism together. They provided curriculum, taught reading, science, math, and writing. They wrote behavior plans, graphed dysregulated behaviors, taught social emotional learning, and coping strategies. They did it without complaint. They did it with confidence, positivity, and assuredness. They did it all and came back every day when there were many that did not. So this is for them. There are 6 different definitions of the word hero. 2 of them are in relation to a sandwich and bread. Another speaks of being in classic mythology with godlike prowess heading towards divinity or the lead role played by a man in a play. Those, however, did not speak to of the heroic efforts of the 2 women standing before you. But the first 2 definitions do. A hero is a person noted for courageous acts of nobility, of character, or a person who, in the opinion of others, has special achievements, abilities, or personal qualities, and is regarded as a role model or ideal. Those definitions, more than the sandwich, describe Griselda Leon and Pallavi Kulkarni to a T. And according to classic mythology, Homer wrote poems of heroes that have forever remained. While I am no Homer, I will do my best to expound on their heroic efforts. So this is the ode to Miss G and Miss P. One afternoon in August, while the sun was still high, the teacher left for the final time, and all I could do was sit down and sigh. For there were children, very special in their own right, who needed someone to guide them and help them find their light. Griselda was there, leading the staff, when no one else would, on all of our behalfs. She showed patience and calm and offered hugs like the best of all moms. Her skills were known far and wide that she had the power to calm a child, to get them to do what needed to be done, even though the task was far from fun. Miss P came late to room 28, but she settled in and did not wait. She put in time to get to know the 3 that, depending on the day, could seem like there were more than 50. There were days of colorful language, physical behavior, dysregulated screaming, and very loud singing. Desks toppled nearly every day. Posters came down in the same way. A beanbag chair met its demise. Papers were often crumpled to half their size. Miss P, Miss G, we need your assistance, could be heard through the walkie across the campus. And just like the supers, they appeared to ease the woes and soothe the fears. Through it all, these 2 held steady with a hug and a high five at the ready, soothing the kids and the staff with a brilliant smile and a snorting laugh. They never flapped and they never wavered, and soon came to be seen as everyone's savior. The models of what to do, following the elopers and even holding their shoes. The cast of adults was ever changing, but room 28 was always amazing. For Miss P and Miss G were at the helm while everyone else was overwhelmed. They donned their capes and their smiles too, because in the end, that's what superheroes do. Thank you.
That's cool. Bam. Thanks for your work. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Nicely done. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
We always delight in the poems that come from the principal. It's a really nice honor. She's so creative. So we want to give her a round of applause too for putting all that effort into it.
And I believe we have another.
We certainly do. Next, I'll invite Mr. Eric Taylor, the very proud principal of Del Val High School, forward. And this is a California Model Continuation School. And he'll be recognizing and honoring a team of people who work on behalf of our students.
And maybe as they're coming up and getting set up, maybe the cameras can catch a look at some of the great artwork from our Del Val students.
And do you have a poem, Mr. Taylor?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Oh,
this
okay,
evening.
that's no pressure. That's okay.
I will work on it for next time, for sure. So good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, Cabinet. I'm the proud principal, Eric Taylor of Del Val Continuation High School. Tonight, we're recognizing our Del Val Coordination of Services team, otherwise known as COST. Our team is made up of some of the most compassionate, hardworking, talented, and innovative individuals within our district. Once a week, we meet to discuss teacher referrals of students who are struggling both academically and emotionally. As a team, we discuss the students' areas of strength and areas of growth for each student. The team formulates a plan to help our students, which includes anything from reaching out to students and parents, to coordinating home visits, or referring students to counseling services, and this is just to name a few. I'm constantly amazed at how rich our discussions are around students and how dedicated this team is to support students. So without further ado, let me introduce our team. So before you, you have Dan Musselman, Vice Principal of Del Val Continuation High School, and Kat Arthur, District Nurse. We also have some other individuals that weren't able to make it this evening. Allison Petersdorf, our Academic Counselor. Brianna Dodd is our Special Education Psychiatrist. We have Edna Oliveras Gomez from the Hume Center. Marissa Rodriguez, a District Child Welfare Attendant. Maren Grossbeck, a Del Val/Vineyard Child Welfare Attendant Assistant, and Olivia Tepete, Child Welfare Attendant Assistant. So we'd like to thank them very much for all their work.
Sick. Thanks. Nice job. Hey, glad having you there. Thank you. We're put those things as enferma. Lucky tonight, we have a third.
So last but certainly not least, I'll invite Mr. Frank Salvaggio forward. He is our Special Education Director, and he's going to be honoring and recognizing a very special person on our staff who has won statewide recognition.
President Bueno, members of the board, Dr. Bowers, Executive Cabinet, student representatives. I'm honored tonight to let you know that Nancy Whiteside has been selected as the Adaptive Physical Education Teacher of the Year by the State Council on Adapted Physical Education. And so we're very honored to have one of our own be recognized with such a prestigious recognition. A little bit about Nancy. In 1974, she began teaching physical education. And then in 1985, she focused on adapted physical education only, and then came to Livermore in 1991. She's also the district liaison for Special Olympics, and everybody knows Special Olympics is Thursday, and it's at Granada High School, and we want everybody to come that can come. But I'm very honored and grateful for the work that Nancy's put in, and it's a much deserving honor. So congratulations, Nancy.
Choosing the day. What's that? When it was in Pleasant, I remember going there 10, 11 o'clock. Nicely done. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
And she has a whole fan club behind her, I see.
All right, we're going to move into section 6. This is our student board member reports. And this is an opportunity for our 2 comprehensive high schools. They send representatives, and they're here for a year with us. And so they can share some of the things that are going on at their school. And tonight we're going to start with Granada High School, Riley Mora.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. My name is Riley, and tonight I speak on behalf of my peers at Granada High School. The past 2 weeks, Granada's focus has primarily been on developing school spirit and unity through homecoming activities. Last week, all of the grades displayed their class skits. Students worked tirelessly to produce a quality set and production. All of the skits were produced under one theme, which was the lands of Disney. What was special about these skits, though, was not their fun theme or exciting plots, but the fact that every class made a point to implement a prevailing positive message into their skit. The senior skit was so powerful, many staff and students were brought to tears, as the skit encouraged people to reflect on their high school experience and how one can make it successful, healthy, and fulfilling all at the same time. If you're interested to view these skits, they are posted on YouTube. Following the skits was the traditional homecoming football game, carnival, and dance. This homecoming was not only successful in heightening school spirit, but leadership officials were also very impressed with ticket sales, which allows leadership to funnel such funds into future events for the student body. Shifting the focus back to academic pursuits this week, many seniors are expected to attend Senior Information Night tomorrow, and this weekend it is likely that many students, including myself, will be taking the SAT. We are already 6 weeks into the trimester, and students are working hard to maintain their grades and balance their extracurriculars. Considering the constant balance students are expected to maintain, Rada and I have been working with our respective administrators to develop a school-wide survey. The survey is currently categorized into 3 sections: social emotional support, representation, and academics. This is a work in progress, and we aim to complete and conduct the survey in the next month. As the representatives, we intend not only to report on the school's happenings, but also actively assess the school culture in order to suggest ways in which we could continuously improve the student experience at our respective schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to Livermore High School, Radha Shri Theron.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and members of the cabinet. My name is Radha Shri Theron, and I'm speaking on behalf of Livermore High School tonight. Livermore High hopes everyone is ready for October and all the fall festivities that come with it. Staff and students are preparing for the fall madness of many different events. On sport news, our freshman football team is currently 4-1. JV's going strong with their winning streak of 6-0, and varsity's at 4-2. Our teams are taking a break this week and working extra hard for our homecoming game next Friday against Dublin High School. Water polo and cross country are doing great this season with countless wins. Girls volleyball won their rivalry game. And to get updates and be updated with our sport news, make sure to follow our Livermore Athletics social media pages. Spirit news. Last Friday, we had our annual Pink Out game, which was a total success. Families and students purchased shirts to raise awareness about breast cancer and support their loved ones. They could send a small message to honor those whom we have unfortunately lost during the battle, survived the battle, or are currently fighting the battle, and those names were listed on our score scantron. Band and the student section was all pinked out and showed their Cowboy Nation spirit through pink. Homecoming festivities. Our homecoming court is getting ready for their special moment next week. Our 2020 King nominees are underway and practicing their famous dance for the rally next Friday. Next Thursday is our annual Cowboy Showdown, formerly known as Float. The show will start at 7 p.m. Food vendors will be there, and families and friends can donate to Open Heart Kitchen. Classes have been working hard on their performances and getting all their props and choreography ready to go for the big night. Seniors are reality TV show, juniors are talk shows, sophomores are cartoons, and freshmen are sci-fi and fantasy, all having a common theme of TV genres. Campus life. Today is our first Horizons Family Workshop, tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. Families could attend an informational night to discuss the effects of vaping and marijuana. Counselor Cap will begin. LHS counselors are working every other week with students during our advisory period, which is Wednesday mornings, to discuss social and emotional issues or career and college workshops for our fellow students. Our National Honor Society's induction ceremony is tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. This is an event where new members are inducted into the National Honor Society and recognized for their service. Mrs. Mohammed has taken lead bringing ABLE, which is also known as African American Body of Laboratory Employees, to come speak with our fellow African American students on campus. They are a mentor group for Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and meet with our students bi-weekly to help mentor our students and allowing them to gain exposure to community experiences as well as career guidance. On October 5th and October 19th, we will be having a UC College Essay application help for all of our students, for primarily seniors, as a workshop. October 19th, it will be held at Granada High School, and this Friday, as there is no school, it will be hosted at Livermore High School, and students can register on a link sent to them. And as always, stay humble and kind, and it's always a great day to be a cowboy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicely done, both of you. Moving in section 7, this is our employee associations. This is a time for the leadership from our different groups that are all represented to come forward, send their leadership up, and tell us a little bit about what's going on within the organization. Coming up right now is the Livermore Education Association. Kate Sorrell. Good evening.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, and members of the audience here and at home. Yes, I am the president of the Livermore Education Association. The district-wide PD Day is on Friday. We will gather at Granada High to attend workshops and trainings designed to meet the needs of a variety of interests. Staff will attend 3 workshops starting at 8 and ending at 2:15. From 2:30 to 3:30, sites will have the opportunity to discuss what they have learned and how it applies to the needs of their students. 36 members of the Livermore Education Association volunteered to share their expertise with their peers. While some of the presenters are teachers on special assignment, others are elementary, middle, and high school teachers. Some of the workshops being offered include Google Apps, Google Drive, Google Calendar, differentiated instruction, a model NGSS lesson on snails, youth mental health first aid, language development, public school use of electronic media, methods to increase student involvement on the middle school campuses, and co-teaching. In case you're interested, Noah King and I will be presenting the workshop on social media. Just a little plug there. There's still space available. Many workshops demonstrate how the effective use of technology improves student engagement and student learning. Our district's ability to provide such diverse professional development demonstrates that we truly are a professional learning community. The newer members of our bargaining team attended a CTA-sponsored bargaining team training. We had our first team meeting the following week to learn about the highlights of the training and get an early start on the items we will bring to the table next year. The 9 pieces of legislation I referenced at the last board meeting are still sitting on Governor Newsom's desk. He has until October 13th to sign the bills. Without his signature, the bills will not become law. I remain optimistic. The governor will do the right thing and sign AB 48, 493, 500, 967, 1322, 1505, 1507, 126, and 468, and that he will veto Senate Bill 358. On behalf of the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment, I ask that the board members and others present at this meeting, as well as those in the audience at home, to contact the governor's office and tell him to support legislation that increases local control, increases revenue, and makes a quality public education available to all students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not with us tonight, but also representing some of our groups. CSEA is Mamie Kristovich, SEIU, Teresa Jennings, and then Cindy Martinez with our confidentials. We're going to move into communication from the public. This is Section 8. And communication from our public is a time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on our agenda. We can listen, but we can't take any action on the meeting on anything that's not on the agenda, and this is all in accordance with the Brown Act that we're governed by. I have no 10 speaker cards, so we're going to move right on to Section 8B, which is correspondence. We're going to get our clerk involved here. Formal written correspondence to our Board of Education shall be acknowledged by this board if it's received within the superintendent's by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting, our regular meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communication received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education with all links completed and verified. That'll be treated as formal written correspondence. So, Mr. Clerk, if we have any, if you'd go ahead and summarize, please.
Yes, Mr. President, we have 2 items. The first from Jennifer Leday, formal board correspondence received via email. Ms. Leday, Alameda County Safe Routes to Schools site coordinator, invited the board members to participate as VIP guests in the International Walk and Roll to School Day. She has noted that the schools, Arroyo Seco, Jackson Avenue, Maryland Avenue, Rancho Las Positas, Smith, Sunset, Christensen Middle School, East Avenue Middle School, will be participating on October 2nd, while Altamont Creek Elementary will be celebrating on Wednesday, October 3rd. Second one is from Cecilia Florini. Formal board correspondence received via email. Ms. Florini wrote to the board with questions regarding the implementation of the California Healthy Youth Act and the comprehensive sexual health and HIV prevention education. Just as a note, the district staff has contacted Mrs. Florini to discuss her concerns. With that, that's into our correspondence.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move into our discussion items. So I'd ask our superintendent if you'd go ahead and introduce item 1.
Certainly. I see Dr. Kevin Greer coming forward, and he will provide some background information regarding a public hearing about the sufficiency of textbooks. And with that, then he will invite our board to open our public hearing.
All right. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, members of cabinet. Tonight I'm presenting information on the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials in accordance with Ed Code Section 60119. Each year, Ed Code Section 60119 requires that local governing boards hold an annual public hearing and adopt a resolution stating whether each pupil in the district has sufficient textbooks or instructional materials in reading, language arts, mathematics, science, history, social science, aligned to the content standards and consistent with the content and cycles of curriculum framework adopted by the State Board of Education. The board will be voting, hopefully later in the portion of the thing, on the resolution as item 12.3 in tonight's agenda. Per the guidelines and requirements, the notice of tonight's public hearing was posted. At least 10 calendar days notice of the public hearing posted in at least 3 public places within the district. In compliance with the funds, the Williams settlement requires that every student has a standards-aligned textbook or instructional materials in English, language arts, math, history, social science, and science. And the certification is expanded to include health and foreign languages and availability of high school laboratory science equipment where applicable. The state 24-month adoption cycle has been suspended due to the fiscal cycle and the allocated funds going into Tier 3 flexibility. We continue to follow all guidance and timelines from the state, and our next frameworks will be based on the California standards, as will future adoptions. Until that time, the law requires us to maintain textbooks in our classrooms based on our current state adoptions. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the board president to open the public hearing.
So we would open our public hearing for any comment, and I have no cards on the matter. So having no cards and no public comment, we will close the public comment. Thank you, Doc.
And Dr. Kevin Greer, our Director of Curriculum, will stay at the podium in order to present for information only. the Math Placement Act of 2015 report. So it's the current report, but the Math Placement Act was enacted in 2015.
Correct. So good evening once again. So I am here tonight to present the annual report on Math Placement Act of 2015, which was a result of Senate Bill 359, in case you're in a trivia contest. The purpose of the Senate bill was to ensure that all districts in California that had 9th grade students would report on their fair, objective, and transparent process for the placement of its students in math courses as they entered high school. There are 4 main areas that must be reported on: the math placement process, how are students objectively assessed; the reevaluation process after the spring assessment and the summer have passed; the parent appeal process; and an annual review of where students were placed to ensure that there are no barriers or lack of access to math courses. This is a chart showing how an entering 6th grade student is able to progress through the middle school math courses. Our district offers accelerated pathways that are available for students who are exceptionally advanced in mathematics. The ideal pathway shows that most students will enter the 9th grade ready to successfully take Algebra 1. This will allow a student to graduate high school having completed Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and pre-calculus, so 4 years of mathematics. And then as an entering college student, he or she would take calculus or stats, depending on their major chosen. Keep in mind, too, to graduate from Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, all students have to pass Algebra 1, that's a requirement, and they must take a total of 20 units of math, so at least 2 years' worth of mathematics. In order to ensure an objective math placement process, we have established multiple assessment measures from which to evaluate the proper math course placement. You can see that there are 3 parts to the math assessment process. We have grades, their average grades. We look at their CASP scores, and we look at their math placement test, in which we use the Mathematics Diagnostic Testing Project, or MDTP. This year, we included the previous 2 years of CASP. So whatever they had, if they were coming in as a 6th grader, we looked at their 5th grade and their 4th grade years. And then, in addition, the placement matrix is updated with the current year CASP data, because we do get that quickly now, a little more quickly for results that we can use. And the final trimester math grades also go in there, because we'll know those at the end of the school year. And all that occurs after the initial notification for parents on course placement. We also check back in after school year starts to review student math placements and ensure that all students are still appropriately placed. We do also include teacher recommendation into the evaluation, but only to advance the student forward and not necessarily to go the other direction. If after receiving the math course placement notification, a student or parent believes that the placement is inappropriate, the parent may follow the established appeal process. The student or parent may complete the form shown on the screen here and found online on the curriculum department's website. The parent then turns the form into the site principal, who in turn will forward it to me, to the director of curriculum and special projects, and a meeting will be held to review the math placement multiple measures and discuss options. Just to let you know, this year we did have 6 of those meetings held with parents. The final element of the Math Placement Act is to review the aggregate entering 9th grade math placements to ensure that there's an equitable access to all possible 9th grade math course options. So on the chart, this is all of what could be possible for an entering freshman to take, every course that's possible. And you can tell also that we have kids that are all in all of those courses all the way through as an entering 9th grader. In reviewing the 9th grade math course placement data, we compare the overall percentage of each ethnic race to the percentage of students in each course offering. Ideally, the ethnic distribution in each course should align to the overall population percentage for that grade level. In LVJUSD, that was true for the majority of our ethnic groups. However, there continues to be a disparity in our Hispanic Latinx population in the courses above Algebra 1. Our district also reviews the gender distribution within each of the courses to ensure that the courses are balanced male-female. And our 9th grade math courses show an even distribution between males and females for the classes. So One case it was 51, 49, 47, 43, and 40, 60. So pretty close online there. So that would conclude the report, and I'd be open to answering any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll start with Mrs. White.
We've been reading a lot about having 4 years of math being a requirement to go to CSU or even, UC. Do we have options for students to take those that are not planning to take calculus?
There are additional options, statistics, there's some other courses. too.
Statistics and robotics doesn't count. There's algebra with robotics,
Yeah.
but
That would be the Algebra 1 course, though. That's another way of taking an Algebra 1 course.
when are we going to, is there a plan to not consider the readiness, to consider a student who's not done 4 years of math ready to go to college? You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
With the push to have 4 years of math being required, when will that piece be included in that rainbow of studies that the questions we ask about our high schools and how many students are prepared to go to college?
We certainly do have courses that'll allow them to take 4 years of math, and many of our students, in fact, a good majority of our students do take all 4 years of mathematics, which is very, very good.
And it is.
Which is exciting to do. And Algebra 2 is a great gatekeeper for those students ready to get to the CSUs and UC system as well.
But it'd be higher than Algebra 2 if
Absolutely, if they went all 4 years.
if there's a 4-year requirement, and we still would need to offer options to those students who really don't think calculus is in their path.
Correct, and we do have a couple of those options available to students already.
Can you name them?
Consumer math would be one. I believe we have that one. Advanced math, pre-calculus, a trigonometry course for a semester.
Oh, really?
We have that one that you can
Okay.
take as a one-semester course. So,
Great, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Rogi?
Good evening. On the middle school math matrix, placement matrix, is there much of a disparity between performance value 1 and performance value 2? Do they pretty much follow in lockstep, or do you have a lot of variations between the grade and the placement test score?
Actually, you'll be surprised. Yes, there can be some variance between all three of the ones. We've seen students come in with CAS scores being up here and their placement score being down here, or their grades in the course may not be a total predictor to their final CAS score in the thing. We'd like that to be the case, but there's sometimes not a straight line of predictability.
Are the averages, though, pretty much on the same?
Yes.
Okay.
We would be able to show that pretty quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogi. Mrs. Prusso?
I had a couple of questions. I see that you've changed this year. You're looking at 2 years of CAS scores. Are you getting a more accurate placement?
Actually,
or what?
yeah, it is kind of nice. And when we add the third year, the current year they're in, so we're looking at their last year and their year before that. So, and then you add the 6, it's really nice to see the progressing and to see if they've held steady or what have you. And it's really kind of exciting, I think, to see all 3 years. But the 2 years this year has really helped.
Okay.
Because sometimes you just have a good day, and so it's nice to make sure you have a great multiple measures approach to it.
Right. And then my other question was, well, I have a couple. The 6, you said this year you had 6 math placement meetings in the appeal process. What do those generally end up going with the preferred placement or moving up? Is that what they're generally for moving up, correct?
They are generally for moving up. Yeah.
And so what's the percentage of them moving up or choosing to
of
not?
the 6, 5 moved up and 1 stayed.
Okay. And then my other question, sort of in relation to that, is there an option for a replacement if they realize they're maybe placed too far forward?
Yeah, the high school counselors will definitely work with the parents when they would come in and have a meeting and say, I think this was a little bit of a reach.
Okay.
Could we go back? And as long as they can make that work with the scheduling, yeah.
Okay, I think
absolutely.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Couple questions. One, in kind of reading the front end stuff on this and looking at like this math matrix, it shows 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 on the testing, the CASP and average math grades and then placement test scores. but in reading the descriptive of it, it also talks about teacher input. So does one override the other, and where does the teacher input fall?
So when we have, you'd have to see the massive spreadsheet we put together that puts all this data in there and then compiles it, and then we send it off to the teachers to view before we send it to the parents. And we say, here's where it would fall for where your students currently would be placed next year. If there are a difference of opinion, please on the spreadsheet, please enter what you feel would be where they should move to, and then they submit it back to us, and we'll take a look and review those and make some decisions off of that based on some of the stuff, or we might call them and say, can you tell me a little bit more, or email them and find out some additional information.
Okay.
As Dr. Greer noted, that recommendation from the teacher can only be used to advance the student. It can't be used to hold the student back.
Okay. To me, that was I don't want to say a concern, but just something I wanted that we could address publicly, that the teachers do have input into that. And then there's also the appeals process where you can move for a parent who might want to move forward or might want to move backwards.
Correct.
So there's adequate things on both sides. There's discretion.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second one isn't really addressed here, but you mentioned something as like algebra is like a gatekeeper. Is that just relative to standards? Is that, maybe you could tell us a little bit about it, and I don't understand this. Is that state standard? Is that just local standard? In terms of a child has to go through algebra to graduate? Has to be proficient?
The student, yes, a student in California has to at least complete Algebra 1 in order to get a high school diploma. However, to do a Cal State or a UC, it's usually a requirement of 3 years, if not 4, depending on what you're looking to pursue. The readings that I have kind of come across have suggested that Algebra 2, being successful through at least Algebra 2 before you would step off into the college world, has predicted your success going through and coming out the other end of the college, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year kind of pursuit. Obviously, the more math you can log under your belt, the more in line with the major you're going towards, the better off. But it had been shown that Algebra 2, and our CASP 11th grade test is based on completing Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2. It's got content from all 3. So obviously we'd be strongly encouraged to try to get as many of our juniors who would take that in their junior year to kind of be through Algebra 2 by the end of their junior year, which would be nice because it does kind of take pieces of all of those courses and put them into the 11th grade CASP test.
And I'm asking, I understand that we're taking great strides this year, particularly to work with math in a wide regard. The spectrum that we teach math, the higher maths. I'm looking at it from the other perspective of when like a gatekeeper sense, that are there many kids that because of that requirement can't move on? And I say that in the sense that yes, algebra 2, trig, calculus are going to be required when you go into to college. But for a kid who may not be using that later and may not have the college in his future, or the person who just wants to go out and, they're going right to work and may not have an application for that. Is there any alternative, or is it truly the gatekeeper and it's actually a requirement?
I mean, to clarify, it would be the gatekeeper into like a 4-year university. For a 2-year, you don't need to have
I'm saying for a
that.
diploma. The
Right.
gatekeeper
Oh,
for
high school
diploma.
diploma, you just need to get the Algebra 1 and 20 total units of math taken care of. So that would be at least Algebra 1, that's 10 units, and 10 units of whatever other math course offerings that you would like to try or your student would like to try.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Mrs. White?
Over the years, I've heard that about Algebra 1, but not that the content of Algebra 1 is important. There's the procedures and the discipline and a few proofs and learning logic and learning generalized solutions to specific problems that is valuable in Algebra 1. It's not just knowing how to find the area or the volume of a geometric figure. It's these soft skills that you practice in solving the algebra problems that's valuable. So it's, you say I never need to figure out the area of anything, Well, that's true, but knowing how to figure out the area is the important thing about Algebra 1. I've been told that for years and years and years.
Okay.
I think Chuck wants to.
Mr. Roki.
On the appeals process, have there been many appeals?
Oh, I mentioned there were 6 this summer.
I'm sorry?
I had 6 parent meetings this summer.
Okay, you said that before. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Oh, well, wait a minute. How did they go?
I believe Board Member Pruso had asked, and I had said 5 of the 6 were
Well, how did they
successfully
go? I
and
mean,
moving forward.
did the appeals bump the person up or
Yes.
down, or?
5 of the 6.
I imagine you said that already. I must have been importantly writing something when that happened. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next item, please.
Thank you, Dr. Greer. For our next report, we have an informational item, and our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Chris Van Schack, will present the results of the Energage survey.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. So once again, I'm here to present to the board and the public information about a survey that we've been taking now for nearly a decade. In terms of data gathering, we gather information about students' academic successes through test scores and grades. This is an opportunity for us to gather data about employee satisfaction. And we go through the process each year of having our employees take a survey, and this used to be called Business Insights Report. It's since been changed to Energage Report. And this is a 9th year of participation, same essential questions, but a new name. All of our district employees are invited to participate. The comments then, in addition to the questions, their employees are eagerly encouraged to submit comments as well to expand upon the questions that were asked earlier. So the results this year, we had 837 employees respond, which is a little over 50% of our employees, and so we feel like this is a good number of people who provide us with insight. In addition, we have nearly 2,000 employee comments that provided further insight. The categories to which they spoke were alignment, performance, connection, and coaching. And I'll give you just a couple of examples of the questions. For example, employees are asked to rate on a scale of 1 to 5 their agreement toward a statement such as, I believe the district is going in the right direction, the district operates by strong values, there is good interdepartment cooperation in the school district, meetings in the school district make good use of my time. And so this is a 1 to 5 scale. And again, it has 4 different categories that the district is then ranked on. In sum total, these are considered cultural drivers. They used to be called organizational health. And the theory behind this is that a healthy organization is one in which employees are valued, in which they feel like there's a strong sense of direction, in which they're connected to the work that they do, in which they feel like they're given support and professional development. And so there's 16 questions, and they measure these. And again, this is a survey that's used throughout the United States. And so this is a very valid tool of determining whether or not employees are satisfied with their work. And so again, for us in this district, we noticed that there's some specific areas that we were particularly high this year. And one had to do with appreciation that that employees felt, which improved 15%. We also noted a strong increase in the statement that the district encourages different points of view, which has to do with innovation and creativity. And we also noticed a strong increase, 8%, in a statement about the district operating on strong values. And so those are 3 statements this particular year that we noted went up substantially over where they were last year. And so I think these speak to the culture of the school district. Once again, what Energage refers to as these are cultural drivers, and the theory behind this is that employees will tend to seek out places of employment and then stay in places of employment where they feel a strong sense of culture. They feel a sense of belonging, they feel a sense of support. And so this is a survey we do each year, and we've done this now for 9 years. And it allows us to determine the level at which we are doing a good job of not just recruiting employees to our district, but also retaining them once we're here. This is a nice wordle that encapsulates many of the words that were used most frequently in the comments. And I think it speaks to the culture of the district. Is the larger the word, the more often it was used in the comments. And so you see words such as compassionate and dedicated and united and supportive, friendly, which I think are strong indicators that the school district, in a general sense, provides an environment for employees in which they feel as though they're cared for and that their work has a great deal of meaning, which of course we knew that about education going in. People who get into education get into it because of the sense they have at the end of the day that they've made a difference. And so these, we feel like, are reflective of educators in general, and we're particularly proud that they're reflective of the school district. And so once we get the results back, which has happened now, we distribute these results to site leadership, so they are disaggregated by school site. And we allow the leaders at each of the school sites to see the comments that are specific to their leadership and the culture at their school. We review our goals and our core values, and we look at the areas of concern. So of the 2,000 comments, a number of those expressed concerns about areas of, maybe they thought that the professional development last year wasn't as meaningful as they would have liked it to be, and so we might make changes in our professional development plan. It allows us to make shifts on the fly in terms of how we do things, and so we use the comments for that reason. Again, for many years, I think Dr. Bowers has talked about enhancing and cultivating a premier workplace. We talk about wanting to be a destination district. We want our employees to come from areas of the East Bay, and we want them to stay here once they've come to us. And so I think it's really important to us to have the type of working environment in which our employees feel valued and they feel like the work they do is important, and they feel like they have a good, strong sense of where we're going in the future. And again, mostly through the comments, quite frankly, we identify areas that we can focus on. In this past year, we took the comments from the 2018 survey, and it allowed us to reshape our professional development and make some changes that we thought were really beneficial to employees. And so this is kind of the steps we go through each year. Again, it's pulling together information, it's getting it out to the folks who can make changes, and then it's following through with making sure that the comments that were given to us prompt action on our behalf. And so that's the 2019 process that we went through. And again, we will continue to assess these on an annual basis. We think that surveys is a great way to gather data about employee satisfaction. Test scores are fantastic, but this is an opportunity for us to gather opinions about how valued and how supported people feel in the work environment. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions or listen to any comments that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Van Schack. We'll start with Mrs. White.
Yes, you say that about half the staff responded. Is this typical for this report? You've got 9 years of data.
Yeah, we were normally around 62, 63%, so it was down a little bit from where we were in prior years.
And that was actually one of the areas of improvement. One of the issues that came up this last year with the distribution of the survey was that we have 2 email systems. And so that was actually came up through the comments that some of the original survey only went to 1 email, and if that wasn't the one that everybody used, so then that was seen as, in the comments, as a lack of efficiency, and some people felt that, and then there was a short window of time.
Oh.
So that actually has prompted our larger move this year toward 1 email system that will take place this year toward 1 email. So it's interesting how even before the survey was taken, we received feedback from the fact that some people didn't get to participate who thought they might have.
Okay. Would you look into that for me for the last 9 years, if it's easy, just to see what percentage participated? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mrs. Prusso.
Yeah, I had a question. So you said you got about 2,000 comments. Did you typically see themes in the comments?
Yeah.
And then I guess you've noticed those, like maybe the email thing?
Yeah, I think.
Or how does that?
Over the last 9 years, I think there's one of the constant theme is that people feel very good about the work that they do. And that's that every single year that comes up, that the work is valuable. They feel as though there's a great deal of meaning and what, at all levels, teachers, office staff, custodians, everybody feels like they're really happy with the work they do. There has been an ongoing concern that the cost of health care and housing in the East Bay continues to rise, and it makes it very difficult for folks who want to live in Livermore and work in Livermore to do that. And so what we're hearing through the commentary is that for folks who want to be able to afford a home, they're having to move out to Manteca and Brentwood and Ripon and places like that, and that the commute is becoming a bit of a problem. And so there's some financial issues that I think come up year after year. But basically the meaningfulness of the work and frustration with the fact that they don't believe in some cases that they're going to be able to continue to do the work in the area that they want to do it because of affordability of housing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. Thank you, Mr. Van Schaik.
Of course.
Moving to our action items, you'd introduce our first one.
Of course, this is also Mr. Van Schaik, our Deputy Superintendent, and he will be presenting for your consideration and approval a provisional internship permit, also known as a PIP.
And thank you again, Dr. Bowers. Very quickly tonight, I come to the board asking for your approval of an internship permit. This is required by the California Credentialing Commission, and this year, sometimes it's difficult to fill or hard to fill positions, which I guess makes them hard to fill. And so occasionally we have to bring in interns, and these are folks who are currently completing their coursework. And so we hire them as interns. We provide them with support as they work through their final courses. And this evening I bring to you one such candidate. Her name is Tressa Morgan. She's a special day class teacher, and she began just recently. We filed for an internship credential for her, and I just need board approval tonight for us to move forward with that process.
Any discussion? I just entertain a motion then.
I move that we approve the request to apply for provisional internship permit for Tressa Morgan.
Employee listed here. Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Prusso, been seconded by Mr. Rogie. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. The motion carries 4-0, the absence of Mr. Wenzel. Thank you. Move to our next item, please.
For our next item, we invite Mr. Scott Vernoy, our Director of Student Services, forward. And this is for a first reading of Board Policy Administrative Regulation 5332.
Good evening, President Bueno, Dr. Bowers, members of our board, cabinet. Tonight, it's my pleasure to bring you Board Policy 5332, which is on student dress code. So our first posting was September 20th, and our first reading is tonight. So this is a revision of our existing board policy and administrative regulation. The policy is being updated to prohibit discriminatory enforcement of the dress code, including but not limited to discrimination based on gender identity, gender expression, or religious or cultural observance. So some of the significant modifications that were included in the dress code was that the dress code shall not be enforced in a manner that discriminates against a particular viewpoint or results in a disproportionate application of the dress code based on students' gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, religion, household income, or body type or size. When practical, students shall not be directed to correct a dress code violation during instructional time or in front of other students. And hats, caps, hoodies, and other head coverings shall not be worn indoors unless a religious reason or valid medical reasons authorized by a physician. There were some other deletions based on gender bias language that were removed, such as backless or strapless tops, low-cut tops and dresses, short skirts and dresses that were shorter than a thumb's length. Superintendent's recommendation is to approve a first reading from the Board Policy Administration Regulations from Series 5000. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
I was on the committee.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. Jeff?
I was on the committee.
Okay, and I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the first reading from Board Policy Administrative Regulation from Series 5000.
And prior to looking for a second, we could waive the second? We could go right to approval?
You can always waive the second if you'd like.
If there's no discussion on the motion, what's that? Yeah, if there's no discussion, then we have no questions. I'm just wondering if we could forego the second step and just move to approval?
I would rather not, because there's a lot of improvements and deletions on this one, and it's not a by law issue.
It might give an opportunity for people who did
Fair
see
enough.
it to comment.
I agree.
So we have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Prusso, seconded by Mrs. White. Any discussion on the motion? Can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Mrs. White?
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Bueno.
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. The absence of Mr. Wenzel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Moving to our consent items.
President Bueno, I move that we approve the consent motions 11-2 through 11-9.
Ready?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogie, and it's been seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Any discussion on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Yes, myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with the absence of Mr. Wenzel again. Consent resos, I don't think we had anything pulled. No, we don't. There's 3 consent items. Consent resos.
Mr. President, I move that we approve consent items, resolution 18, 19, and 20.
Thank you. You have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rogie, seconded by Mrs. White. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. White?
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. Absence of Mr. Wenzel. Move right into board member reports, section 14. We'll start with Mrs. Prusso tonight.
We started out the last few weeks with the celebration of Del Valle High School's bicycle technology class with the completion of their 1,000th bike. Paul Grasecci, the founder of the program and teacher of the class, believes in repurposing broken or hand-me-down bikes to children in need. Over the years, 125 students have been trained as bicycle mechanics, which gives them the opportunity to problem solve and work with their hands. It also gives them real-world experience and job marketable skills. It's a wonderful community-supported program, and I'm proud of the students and teachers at Del Valle who's made it such a success. Also, there were some really good cookies there as well.
And they were shaped like bicycles. It was cute.
What's that?
They were shaped like bicycles, the
Yes.
cookies. So it was
They
really
were amazing. Also, I was able to attend a dance presentation at Joe Mitchell, where the students there showed off their dancing skills and global knowledge of cultures around the world, and then got to participate in the dancing, of which I was very good at with Mr. Vernoy and Kelly. Anne watched from the sidelines and gave us pointers for our dancing. Last week, I also had the opportunity to tour the NorCal training facility, where we currently have 4 Pedrosi Scholarship students who are participating in apprenticeships for the trades. I was impressed with the opportunities within the building trades right here in Livermore, and I hope to see more educational outreach to our students about the career opportunities that the trades provide. I was also able to attend a Chamber of Commerce luncheon and awards presentation to businesses in Livermore with Philomena Rambo, our Director of Communications Engagement. It was nice to be able to get to know our community leaders better and develop relationships with civic leaders and businesses in our community. Also, last Friday, I was able to attend part of Croce Elementary's Ability Awareness Week. The students there participated in ability awareness labs, and I was able to read a few books to them about how our differences in ability complement each other when we work together. I could tell the students were really gaining an understanding of different abilities and developing patience and compassion for each other's differences. And then finally, I was able to attend 2 home Livermore High School football games and 2 cross-country meets. It's nice to enjoy the football games in the new stadium seating, and a big shout out to the Livermore High School band for their performances as well. Both Granada and Livermore cross-country teams have been running hard, and I'm sure enjoying the cooler weather. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to Mr. Rogie.
I too have attended the Livermore football games. The band is pretty awesome. I got to admit, I wish our team would be a little bit better. I attended the Downtown Livermore Association's dinner on Sunday before last. Our Livermore High's jazz band played. They really added some spice to the evening, and it was pretty nice, casual evening. They did a really good job, but my daughter's in it, so what can I tell you? One thing I'd like to bring up to the board, and I'd like to see some discussion on is, and I don't know if it's a policy or just something we do, but when we take down a tree, we plant 3, which is an interesting poem. I would like to see us change that policy or amend it to a certain circumstance where instead of planting 3 trees where appropriate, plant a bigger box tree, what would add to the aesthetics of the area where appropriate also. I'm finding that adding 3 trees for every one down, you're starting to look for areas to add trees that may not be as appropriate, and I think sometimes a bigger box tree is more appropriate where we could have a larger growth that adds to the area and things. It fills it in a little bit quicker. They're not that expensive, so that's just something I would like us to consider. If it is a policy, to change it, if not for consideration for our bond department from there. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogie. Mrs. White?
Yes, I would like us to take to heart Mrs. Florini's questions that she wrote in the letter. It has to do with how the board and the district deal with new curricula that come down from the state and what we do about the textbooks. And in fact, this is one of the board's major responsibilities, is to establish the curriculum of the district. You know, after the state says do this or do that, then it is our job to make that work in Livermore. And Mrs. Florini had quite a few questions, but I don't think that each one needs to be answered chapter and verse, but I think it would be valuable for the board to have several paragraphs on the topic so that we know at Orchard Supply, I'm not at Orchard Supply, but at Home Depot or Lowe's or Safeway, how to respond to that parent that says, I don't think, or why aren't you, or such. And one of the concerns Mrs. Florini had were how people got to see the textbooks that we had selected in Livermore. And I think that would be valuable if, just for a review for the board. We haven't done this for a while in any controversial kind of way. And it did sound like Mrs. Florini had some really probing questions to ask. I'm looking forward to the walk and roll to school tomorrow at Jackson Avenue. I missed 1 year and I was called on the carpet for, I know I was reminded that there was expected. And tomorrow is Science Night at Joe Mitchell. And the Tri-Valley Education Collaborative first meeting is on Thursday, and I look forward to that. And those cookies at the 1,000 Bikes event were awesome. The Culinary Arts Committee Academy always comes through and makes an event memorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. In the chance that this meeting, when it's televised, happens to work its way across any of our state legislators, we're able to get it across in the view of Mr. Newsom, our governor. He's done something that I'd like to thank him for, and that is he signed into law SB 206, which creates some opportunities at the NCAA level for some of the student athletes in California. NCAA says that's going to cause some things to go into controversy on a national level. but it's the right thing to do, in my opinion. And I thank the governor for doing that. And I'd also like to ask the governor, while he's doing good things, to sign all those bills that are sitting on his desk that are supported by California Teachers Association. They're meaningful to students, and that's why the California Teachers Association is behind them. So while you're in the mood of doing good things, please do these good things, especially 1505 and 1507. And speaking of good things, it sounds like the CEO of Jewel was stepped down and a new one came in. And if you listen to any of the stuff, Livermore happened to be in a leadership role. Second city, as I understand it, in the nation, San Francisco and us, now a few places are following, to ban e-cigarettes and flavored tobaccos that are going towards kids, which is a great thing. And it took a little bit of intestinal fortitude for our city leaders to step forward. There's probably a loss of revenue and some business implications, but it's the right thing to do. Marketing tobacco and things that are going to kill kids for the sake of profit is the wrong thing. And it sounds like Jewel, at least superficially, decided to replace some leadership there and has announced publicly that they're going to end their campaign on Measure C in San Francisco. The consultant for that, Larry Tramatola, is asking, well, what's going to happen to the money, and are you going to stop marketing, and when you say you're going to stop campaigning, are you legitimately going to stop campaigning? So we await here in Livermore, a sleepy little town out here in the East Bay, to see what happens with this marketing strategy, but we would all hope that it did qualify for the ballot, so we would all hope that Jewel takes the same position here, does not support the referendum that they got put on our ballot, and that we do everything in the best interest of children here in this community, which the Parks District, the city leadership, and the school district here have all worked collaboratively to accomplish, and that is to ban e-cigarettes and all flavored tobacco in the regard of, dragon snot and all these other little things that are clearly marketed to children, to ban those in this city. And so I hope that the public statements of the companies that stand to profit stand true, and that the community sees through it, and I think they will. That's all I have.
So thank you. Bless you. So I also had the opportunity to go to the 1,000th bike celebration. It was a lot of fun, and not only were the cookies a big hit, the homemade shirt that Miss Trustee Prusso made was very nice. It had the mascot from Del Val, the wolf, I guess it's a timber wolf, riding a bicycle. So it was very neat, which reminded me that she promised last year that for this year's California School Board Association, she might make us matching shirts or something so that we are team when we go to CSBA. So. Oh, it's Chuck's idea. Oh, Mr. Rogie, Trustee Rogie's idea. Sorry.
If it doesn't work, it was her idea.
Okay. So we'll be looking forward to that. Also, I attended the Mitchell Multicultural Dance, and it was part of the International Baccalaureate. It was in their PE program, and it really was fun. And the students not only taught us, they also taught the first graders. And I will tell you, the first graders picked up, in some cases, better than some of us adults, but we all had a lot of fun. My husband and I attended the Livermore Valley Wine Growers Association. It was the 25th anniversary event, and this was a local fundraising event where a lot of people donated a lot of funds, and we will, and our students, be beneficiaries. So Livermore Shakes So Wise, So Young program was one of the named beneficiaries, as was the development of the Livermore Science and Society Center downtown. So we're very fortunate. Those are educational endeavors that will benefit students. I attended the 10th Annual Innovation Tri-Valley Forum that was held in Pleasanton. We learned about the high quality of life that attracts people to the Tri-Valley and to live here in the Tri-Valley, including the high-performing schools. But we also did hear, as to echo Deputy Van Schack, we also heard about some of the challenges that everyone faces, whether they're working in education or in other fields: infrastructure, the cost of living, housing, and then the increasing traffic and transportation. So one of the statistics that was shared is that right now, approximately 98,000 cars are just coming over the Altamont on a daily basis, and in the next few years, they anticipate that'll be closer to 140,000. So a little bit of gridlock there. I had the pleasure of presenting and sharing a very detailed overview of our entire district and all of its programs with the Pedrosi Foundation Board of Directors, and they're wonderful partners who are helping us make sure that our students do not have financial barriers for their college and career plans after high school. So we're very excited about other opportunities that will be coming forward to partner. I attended, along with Trustee White, a special event that I think she helped spearhead, which was the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories event with the dean from the Purdue School of Science. And so we had a really nice presentation there at the lab. And there's a lot of people here, including myself, that have Purdue connections, and so does Trustee White, so that was also very nice. I will be looking forward to some upcoming key events. So tomorrow is International Walk and Roll to School Day, and the following schools are participating: Arroyo Seco, Jackson, Maryland, Rancho, Smith, Sunset, Christensen, and East. Then Thursday, as we heard earlier, we will have the Special Olympics, and Granada High School will be hosting a soccer competition. Then also Thursday evening, we'll be attending the annual Alameda County Teacher of the Year Awards, and our own LVJUSD educator, Megan Clappin from Jackson, will be honored. Then Tuesday night is the reclassification ceremony for English learners. In the past few years, we've had it at Livermore High, but this time it will be held at Granada High School. But of course, the most exciting news of all, we need a drum roll, is we are very thrilled to pass on the news that our joint application from Livermore School District and the City of Livermore and the Livermore Police Department to the California Attorney General's Office Tobacco Grant Program was funded at an amount of $510,000, $888. So about $500,000 will go toward adding another school resource officer, which fits what the students have asked, as well as our community, but they will be focused on education and also enforcing the tobacco ordinance that hopefully will pass in March. So this release said that the funds must be used to conduct training and education, awareness, enforcement, and establish a community-wide anti-smoking task force and enforce the new ordinance. So we did receive the largest award in the entire Alameda County, and we're among about 70 that were awarded in the whole state. So we're very excited about that, and we know that everybody's looking out for our students, and now we'll have some funding to make sure it happens. So that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. With no further business.